How's it going, everyone? I want to say welcome back if you've been following along, and welcome to anyone that may be new to the channel. My name is Brock, but I go by Thornrain on the internet. Hopefully I earned your like and subscribe with today's video, and let's get into it. Starting off with just a quick look at the bike stock before we get into the mods. This week we're going to be changing up the rear shock, taking off the rear fender, making the bike look a little bit cleaner, and adding a set of Vans hand grips. So pointing out right here, the top ring is going to be your locking ring. The bottom ring is going to be your adjusting ring. What we did is we adjusted the preload prior to putting it onto the bike. Makes it a little bit easier to adjust it. Got a little bit more room for your hands and everything. But then once it's on and you sit on it, you can go back and you can just kind of fine tune it. Me being a bigger guy, we just adjusted it to the max, and I've played with it a little bit to get a ride that's more comfortable for me. When you look inside of the spring, you can actually see the threads, and that's going to be how far you're able to adjust the preload down. Your shocks are going to come with the wrenches to adjust your preload. You're going to start with one of the wrenches and turn your adjusting ring clockwise until you get to your desired preload. This step could take a minute depending on how much of the preload you want to use. Here you can see the coarse threads, and those are your adjustment threads. Once you can't see any more behind the springs, your shocks are going to be at the max preload. So depending on where you want to set your preload, you're going to kind of gauge it off of the threads underneath of the spring. Once you get to where you want to set your preload, you're going to take your locking ring down to the top of your adjustment ring. This is where you need both of your wrenches now. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold the adjustment ring with one of your wrenches, and then you're going to tighten down the locking ring to the top of the adjustment ring, and this is going to prevent the adjustment ring from walking back up as you ride and lowering your preload. To install the shock, you need to remove the fender. For this, you're going to need a 10mm wrench or socket. There are about 5 bolts that you need to remove to take off the fender. Now you're not going to need these 2 clips anymore, so you can just remove them, set them off to the side. You're going to have to replace the first 2 bolts that we took off. Make sure you don't forget those. And these are the spare parts that you are left with after the fender has been removed. Now to remove the shock, you're going to start by breaking the bottom bolt loose with a 12mm socket. Then do the same for the top bolt with your 14mm socket. Here you can see Rob putting some upward pressure on the tire with his foot, because when you break that bottom bolt loose, the tire will drop. With the new shock, you have to cut a small portion of the plastic to get it to fit. We just used a box cutter here. You can use a Dremel or some other cutting instrument, whatever you have on hand. But the box cutter worked just fine for us. If you're having any issues with your box cutter, you can actually heat up the blade with a lighter, and it'll make it cut a little bit smoother. Putting the new shock on, you're going to start with your 14mm top bolt, get it started, but don't tighten it all the way down. You're going to need a little bit of play. Use one of the washers that comes with the shock kit and use that as a spacer. Put it over this little lip down here. Lift up the tire again. Here, again, Rob uses his foot until he gets the tire at the right height, so the shock lines up. Now here we find out we needed to adjust the lower bracket so that the threaded side is actually towards the tire. You easily spin that around or set it beforehand. thread in your 12mm bolt on the bottom. Tighten down both bolts, and then your shock is fully installed. Here we kind of cheated and we used an air compressor to remove and replace the new hand grips. You just shoot some air into the old ones, it kind of blows them off, and then you put pressure on the new one as you're blowing the air in, which inflates them and allows you to slide them on fairly easy. If you don't have an air compressor, you can just simply cut the old ones off and then use isopropyl alcohol, rubbing alcohol, something along those lines that'll evaporate and not leave a residue on the inside of the hand grip and on the bar itself, and then slide it on. But as you can see, we cheated. I'll have the links to the hand grips and the shocks down in the description below. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe. Would be greatly appreciated. Next week's video is going to be us installing the AC to DC light conversion and adding a set of underglows that are tied into the brakes to just lighten up the bike at night and give a little bit more visibility for when we're braking and driving in darker hours. Again, appreciate everybody that has stopped by. Have a great day. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like and subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. Intro music is from Kyle Wynn. His Bandcamp link will be down in the description below.